What's going on, everybody? We have a big game preview today as we look into the Alabama versus Oklahoma matchup this Saturday at Bryant-Denny Stadium. We will be looking at the significance of this game and how Alabama matches up against Oklahoma on both sides of the ball. The significance of this game is huge as we're getting to that point of the season where the playoff picture starts to become clear, and I'm actually surprised that there's not a bigger deal being made about this game. Oklahoma is ranked number 11, while the Crimson Tide is ranked number 4, and what I will be dubbing a playoff eliminator / clincher game. I know that the Texas-Georgia game this week is a top 10 matchup, which could be a reason why not a lot of noise is being made about this game. But this game barely misses out on being a top 10 matchup as the committee have ranked Oklahoma at the 11th spot. But this game has postseason implications and should have the feel and stakes of a playoff game. On one side, you have an Oklahoma team who has had its season a bit derailed by an injury to John Mateer. I say derailed lightly as this team has still managed to amass a 7-2 record with both losses coming after John Mateer's hand injury. This feels like a must-win game for an Oklahoma team who will be without some key defenders in D lineman R. Mason Thompson and defensive back Gentry Thomas. One would imagine that a loss this Saturday at Alabama would have potentially put Oklahoma out of the playoff race as they would lose control of their own destiny and need a lot of shakeup and chaos to happen in order to get back into the playoff conversation. This is a must-win for them. On the other side, you have an Alabama side that has been recovering from stumbling against FSU in the beginning of the season and have endured a gauntlet coming into this game. Alabama will seemingly wrap up the regular season with a win here as they will have one foot in the door to both the playoffs and the spot in the SEC championship game. A loss here can send the season into a whirlwind as it would exponentially raise the stakes against Eastern Illinois, but most importantly, Auburn, who would be set up with a chance to take its biggest rival both out of the playoff race and the SEC title game. In season enders last year, we saw Michigan give Ohio State a run for its money in a game that didn't really matter because Ohio State went on to their national championship march. And with the stakes being higher for this game, you have to imagine that Auburn would love nothing more than to salvage their season after everything that could have gone wrong for them this season did go wrong. Beating Alabama in this game in the Iron Bowl can be a way to salvage the season. Due to these circumstances, I think dubbing this game as a playoff game is not a stretch or an exaggeration, as a loss for both teams could result in season-ending implications. Oklahoma will be fighting for its season in this game and will come with everything in their arsenal to save their season, while Alabama will not want to throw away surviving the gauntlet of this season and being unblemished at home and complicating at the end of the regular season and putting their playoff ticket in jeopardy. With that being said, let's take a look at how Alabama matches up coming into this game on offense and defense and see if we can key in on matchups that will be ones to keep an eye on. On offense, can this O-line hold up collectively? Can this O-line hold up against collectively the most disruptive D-line they have faced? Opponents have seemed to get a read on those screen games in the beginning of the season. We have failed to execute them as of late. Will and can A.K. Deere be a factor in this run game along the likes of Daniel Hill and Jam Miller? Ty Simpson has navigated the pocket masterfully this season when things break down, but asking him to make play after play and throwing it close to 40 times a game will obviously take a toll in his game, especially against his Oklahoma defense, who had double-digit tackle for losses and pass deflections against Ole Miss. So we can start off by kind of breaking down the O-line and what it's going to take to protect Ty Simpson. You know, Alabama draws back to pass a lot more than your average team. They currently sit at number 2 in the SEC behind Tennessee in pass attempts. This O-line is also the second heaviest O-line in the SEC behind Texas A&M, but we haven't really seen that translate to the run game. When you have that strong of an O-line, we should be producing a lot more push in the run game, but we have obviously had struggles in that. This O-line is talented, but collectively struggle to play together, and a lot of times it only takes one person to miss their assignment for the entire O-line to look bad. Sometimes it's even a skill player whiffing a block or a running back, not trusting their vision, and that's to be expected just because of the inconsistencies in the block game. The strength of having a strong O-line is that you should stay ahead of the chains, but we are not doing that, and one of the weaknesses of having such a strong and big offensive line is that they should just naturally not be able to keep up with explosive pass rushers. We have seen a lot of times that having this philosophy of a strong, mauling O-line we've struggled on third down against teams even like USF. If everybody remembers the absolute rainstorm that was coming down in that USF game where even Nick Saban got soaked. But they were very successful against us in getting to the quarterback and creating pressure. And for a team that doesn't get the most prize recruit, granted, USF is a very well-coached team, but they do not have the talent, the recruiting trail, to have been able to keep up with a team like Alabama. So usually when you get these teams, you usually have more dynamic pass rushers, kind of the equivalent of a scat back at running back. You get those guys at edge and nickelback. And I think for the past 3 seasons, we have had problems against these kind of lighter, faster defensive ends and edge players who seemingly get a lot of pressure on our quarterback. Add to the fact that we drop back 33 times a game and it essentially gives dynamic pass rushers 33 chances to get pressure and get sacks. This is not ideal as our O-line is not necessarily built to handle this pressure, and it makes Ty have to be perfect 33 times a game. Finding a run game will exponentially help this offense, and it doesn't have to turn into a top 5 rushing attack, or lead the nation in rushing. But any significant improvement will help the O-line and Ty tremendously. They will look much better in pass protection as these guys are having to drop back so many times that you're bound to allow pressure when you have to pass protect as much as they do. And they already aren't built for this. Being strong and heavy usually means that you're not nimble, which makes it hard to just kind of mirror the movement of pass rushers. Ty would become even more efficient than what he already is. Think about how Ty has seemingly made every important play this season. You think back to the play that iced the game against Georgia, that game-tying drive against South Carolina. You think about 2-minute warnings against Vanderbilt and LSU before the half. And you even think about the fourth down pass, to Latair Brooks in the Missouri game. Ty has always shown up when it matters the most this season. And if he could lean on a run game, you have to imagine that putting less on his plate, he would become more surgical and more dangerous. So I would love to see this O-line kind of start taking shape in the run game. Just the run game in general start taking shape, because I just feel like it'll help out the O-line and Ty Simpson tremendously. They will look a lot better. This Oklahoma defense is very stingy and wreak havoc on the D-line and have a great secondary to back that up. I think they're one of the few teams where the sacks and tackle for losses do not correlate with giving up a lot of yards per game, especially in the passing attack. They get a lot of sacks and they get a lot of tackle for losses, and they seemingly do a great job of not allowing big yardage. When you look at a team like Tennessee, even though they're leading the nation in sacks, or leading the SEC rather in sacks, they give up a lot of passing yards, and this Oklahoma team gives up a little bit less than that. Ty and the O-line will have to hold up and look for a lot of those. Ty and the O-line will have to hold up, and I would imagine that you will have to look for a lot of tosses that we've seen at Ty Simpson. We've seen Ty Simpson kind of line up where the wide receivers line up out in the perimeter, and Jeremy Bernard will take the ball, snap it, and give it to Ty. I think in a way that's done to just kind of take the trenches out of the game. It's just to ensure that Ty can be surgical and not let the pass rush have any impact on his decision making. I think that because you're playing such a disruptive D-line and how they don't really have one true superstar on that D-line, you can say R. Mason Thomas, but the whole line is just disruptive. So I think that this offense is going to get creative in ways to give some relief to Ty and the O-line. And, I think that'll take place. This coaching staff has even taken solidified starters, and they've been benching them when they're not producing to give younger guys a chance. This could be the case this game, where rumors are circulating that AKD will get opportunities. I would like to believe that the work done in the bye week did not go to waste, and we will eventually be able to lean on the run game, because they made an emphasis to improve the run game in the bye week, but we didn't see that come into fruition against LSU. But will it happen this game? I'm not sure, just because you have to imagine that it will be hard to accomplish against this defense. On defense, can we slow down this passing game that has explosive playmakers on the perimeter with Satania and Burks? Look for Xavier Brown and Deshaun Jones to have big games in order for us to win. And just how healthy is Jean Montier now that he is 2 months removed from his hand procedure? He was originally supposed to be out for only a month. And now we're 2 months out, and can he replicate the success that he had in the beginning of the season? And more importantly, can we stay out of third and short on defense? As this Oklahoma offense hasn't been able to run the ball effectively, but they used the +1 run game with the quarterback to perfection last year in Norman to stay ahead of the chains. Like I said, a big key will be how healthy John Montier is. He was supposed to originally miss a month. He didn't even miss a month. I think he only missed a game. And now we're closing in on 2 months from the surgery. They also have great weapons in Satania and Burks, who are very explosive wide receivers who are on the shorter side, but can stretch the field both vertically and horizontally as they can line up outside and in the inside. Look for Deshaun Jones and Xavier Brown to have strong games, as they have faced many elite receivers this season, and we have significantly slowed down a lot of explosive passing attacks. They both have had quiet seasons, which is usually a good thing when playing defensive back, as this means that teams aren't really targeting you. Another guy that has been emerging is Red Morgan, getting more playing time at the Husky, which could be the case this game, as Deshaun Jones was on the injury report. But Red Morgan has been solid when his number has been caught. I think both guys were very disruptive against LSU, and I would imagine that they continue to build on that. Deshaun Jones has played against very shifty and fast guys like Eric Singleton, was the best receiver in the transfer portal now at Auburn, Zachariah Branch, Aaron Anderson, and now he will be tested again. Eric Singleton, he played him when he was at Wake Forest, and this season he's had to play against Aaron Anderson and Zachariah Branch. Two guys that are just as shifty as they are fast, and he's seemingly held his own. I think his only bad game was he's had a couple in terms of Missouri and Tennessee, but I think the guy has been playing very great. I think that Xavier has also lined up on the outside and on the inside, and he's also had great production this season. And seemingly, the identity at Husky is seemingly changing. They're moving on from the Husky being that kind of third linebacker to more of a third corner, which could be the reason why we're giving up more explosive runs, but it for sure has aided the pass defense significantly, as Red Morgan and Deshaun Jones are about 10 to 15 pounds lighter than Malachi Moore and Devontae Smith were last year, which would just naturally, you'd have to imagine, allows them to be stickier in coverage. We might get bolstered in the pass rush, as there is a possibility that Quay Rousseau makes a return for this game. Quay has been a very disruptive player for Alabama, and we have yet to see him get the pass rushing situations that we would have liked, as he plays a lot on first and second down. He played a lot on first and second down both last season and this season. Being on a snap count for this game could be beneficial to the pass rush, as this can simplify Quay's role and assignment, to being more of see quarterback, get quarterback. This also allows for more rotation with one of our elite front seven players, as the natural thing would be for Quay to get some of the pass rush opportunities that Deontay Lawson has got. This would just keep D-Law a lot more fresher and aid the rotation that we have at off-ball linebacker with Nakai Hillgreen and Justin Jefferson, while also giving D-Law the freedom to blitz from the second level. I think we saw last year that Deontay Lawson is very good at getting home when he's coming in on those middle linebacker blitz and those delayed blitzes. I think we saw a couple times where he got to the quarterback, and I would love to see that this season more. On third down, he's kind of lined up at edge, so it just kind of takes the ability to go in on a blitz from a delayed position, and hopefully getting Quay back would get him back, will give him those opportunities. With guys like Keon Keeley and Noah Carter and London Simmons and Edric Hill emerging on the D-line, the big task will be keeping this Oklahoma team behind schedule. As, like I said, last year in Norman, they did a very good job of utilizing the +1 run game. And I think that they got ahead of the change, didn't really allow us to let our pass rushers kind of wreak havoc. And this season, they haven't been moving the ball all that well on the ground, so you have to imagine that we will get those opportunities. But with that being said, it's going to have to take actually doing it on the field. I think overall you have to like your chances if you're Alabama, as Kalen DeBoer has always shown up in big games. This coaching staff is taking reps away from bona fide starters and allowing younger guys to get in the game like Latavier Brooks, Dejon Lee, Michael Carroll, and Red Morgan, and we could potentially see A.K. Deere this game. I think this coaching staff is pulling out all the stops to ensure that we win a lot of these games. And in such a pivotal game and how great Kalen DeBoer is in these top matchups, I think I trust them to get the job done. The same can be said for Oklahoma, who will be fighting for their season even more than Alabama will be. And with an elite coach at the helm of the defense, they will test this offense. An X factor for a game that is this tight can be Oklahoma's kicker, who has drilled field goals from 50. But I think that Alabama's defense and the crowd will be too much to handle. And I think Alabama will get a victory 24-17. This will be all for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed this preview. Hoping for good news this Saturday and hopefully a great environment at Bryant-Denny Stadium. And we'll catch you guys on the next one.